On July 16, 1988, Tokyo is engulfed in a massive explosion caused by an atomic bomb that obliterates the city. The sudden destruction of Tokyo starts World War III. In 2019, 31 years after the explosion in World War III, Tokyo gets rebuilt as Neo-Tokyo on artificial islands in Tokyo Bay to recover. A man enters a bar where the bartender sells drugs to a customer, and the news recaps of the day are playing on the TV. There is unrest due to unemployment and a bad economy, and the city is plagued by corruption, anti-government protests, terrorism, and gang violence, causing martial law to uphold the peace. A young man, wearing a red biker suit, enters the bar and gathers some friends from a back room, announcing that they will be going after the Clowns, a rival bike gang, on Route 5. Outside, a teenager, Tetsuo, is admiring a bright red motorcycle with special technical features. Kanda, the youth in the red suit and the leader of the capsule's biker gang, walks out of the bar and mocks Tetsuo, who is his best friend, by saying he doesn't possess the skill to operate the bike, which is owned by him. The Bosazoku gang rides out into the night. Shitaro Kanda leads the capsules, his Bosazoku gang, to fight against the rival gang known as the Clowns. They go to the Clowns at the designated area. A chase happens through the skyscraper district where the Clowns are knocked off their bikes. People watch as nearby cars are damaged and destroyed by the violence. In the skirmish, Tetsuo wipes out and is left alone as the police arrive and the gang split up. A wounded man leads a short green-skinned person through the night streets. He pulls a gun and shoots a pair of pursuing dogs. The man is eventually stopped by police near a group of rioting protesters, and, in the chaos, is shot to death. The little green person cries out in terror as a building begins to collapse. The crowd scrambles for safety, and a mustached man and his companion, a young woman named Kei, are split up. Meanwhile, Kanda's gang continues their pursuit of the Clowns. Tetsuo chases a clown on his own, and they approach the scene where police are attempting to hold back rioters with water cannons and tear gas. Tetsuo closes in on the clown, wearing a Red Cross logo. Tetsuo looks up and sees the green person, Takashi, an esper who escaped from a government laboratory with the aid of a resistance organization, standing in his path. There is a crash and an explosion. Kanda and the rest of the gang arrive on the scene to find Tetsuo semi-conscious in the street while the green person walks away, unhurt. Kanda calls out to him, but the person disappears into the darkness. Meanwhile, Kanda's gang continues to pursue the Clowns. Tetsuo chases a clown on his own, and they approach the scene where police are attempting to hold back rioters with water cannons and tear gas. Tetsuo closes in on the clown, wearing a Red Cross logo. Tetsuo looks up. He sees the green person standing in his path. There is a crash and an explosion. Kanda and the rest of the gang arrive on the scene to find Tetsuo semi-conscious in the street while the totally fine green person walks away. Kanda calls out to him, but the person disappears into the darkness. A second green-skinned person, fellow esper Masaru, then arrives in a hovering chair and speaks to the other in a child's voice, beckoning him to return and saying there is no escape. A helicopter with an armed paramilitary group near the capsule's gang. A tall man gets out of the helicopter. Colonel Shikishima sends Tetsuo to the hospital while Kanda and his gang are taken into custody before he leaves in the helicopter with the two green children who are espers. When Kanda and his gang are interrogated, he encounters Kei, a member of the revolutionary group, being held with another group of suspects, and he arranges her release along with his gang. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Tetsuo is placed in a full-body scanner. His status is overseen by Dr. Onishi. Colonel Shikishima and Dr. Onishi discover that Tetsuo possesses psychic capabilities similar to Akira, a young esper who caused Tokyo's destruction 31 years earlier. Kyoko, another esper, has visions of Neo-Tokyo's destruction, and the colonel tells Onishi to kill Tetsuo if he thinks the power may get out of control. Tetsuo, after waking up, flees from the hospital and meets up with his girlfriend, Kaori, and proposes that they run away together. They steal Kanda's motorcycle and are seen by Kanda and the others leaving. When Tetsuo and Kaori are violently confronted by the Clowns, Kanda and the capsules arrive and save them both. Tetsuo begins to suffer a psychic migraine, hallucinating that his internal organs have dropped out of his lower chest and hearing the word Akira. Dr. Onishi has Tetsuo sedated and taken back to the hospital after conveniently finding him during his episode via a scanning device. Nearby, an explosion rocks a building and police shoot and kills fleeing armed men. Kanda is drawn to the violence and sees a mustached man fleeing with Kei. Kanda assists Kei in escaping as a cop is shot and killed. When they reach the resistance headquarters, Kei frantically calls out for the mustached man named Ryu, while Kanda tries to convince her to turn herself in for killing the officer. Ryu and some resistance fighters arrive, and, mistaking Kanda for a spy, lock him up inside a room. Kanda overhears them discussing their earlier failed attempt at kidnapping Takashi, and their plans to gain access to a government facility to find what they can on the newest subject, Tetsuo. After being discovered eavesdropping, Kanda explains to the suspicious group that he and Tetsuo are best friends from the same gang and that he can help. Colonel Shikishima approaches an aged green-skinned Esper girl, Kyoko, sitting inside a crib while Anishi scans readings. She makes an ominous prediction about Neo-Tokyo's destruction. In his hospital room within the government facility, Tetsuo experiences bizarre hallucinations. Confused about what's happening, Tetsuo steps out on the glass and cuts his foot, which startles the 3 green children responsible for the hallucinations, Takashi, Kyoko, and Masaru. Frightened at the sight of blood, the Esper children flee despite their attempt to kill Tetsuo. Angered and realizing the power he holds, Tetsuo chases after them through the hospital, killing anyone who stands in his way and wreaking havoc with his telekinetic abilities, intent on killing the Espers. Kanda, K, and the Colonel unsuccessfully try to stop Tetsuo's rampage. Discovering that Akira is in cryonic storage below Neo-Tokyo's new Olympic Stadium, Tetsuo flees. Kei and Kanda are detained, but Kyoko, using Kei as a medium and possessing her, explains that Tetsuo must be stopped and facilitates the youth's escape before taking the girl away to combat Tetsuo. Kyoko leads them to a government nursery where Tetsuo is located. Kanda faces Tetsuo, explaining that he's here to rescue him, but Tetsuo won't have it. He angrily retorts that he needs no rescuing now, and since he's discovered where Akira is eager to find out what he is, hoping to make his headaches go away. Possessing stronger powers than the 3 Espers, Tetsuo manages to escape and uses his abilities to fly away. His destination is the Neo-Tokyo Olympic Stadium, under which Akira is being held in a cryogenic storage facility. Desperate to find Tetsuo, the Colonel places Neo-Tokyo under martial law. Tetsuo leaves a trail of destruction through the city before he stops at the bar seen at the start of the film, still wearing his hospital gown, and approaches the bartender, now alone. Tetsuo demands capsules before we see 2 of his fellow capsule gang member, Yamagata and Kai, walk in from outside. They find the inside of the bar destroyed and the bartender lying dead as Tetsuo sits on a pile of rubble. Tetsuo confronts and kills Yamagata, a member of the capsules. He then proceeds to destroy the city as he makes his way to the stadium, brutally dispatching the military forces who attempt to stand in his way. Upon learning of Yamagata's death from his friend Kai, Kanda follows Tetsuo to the stadium, seeking revenge. When Tetsuo arrives at Akira's cryogenic containment unit, he defeats Kei and exhumes the Akira vault from the ground, but discovers all that is left of Akira are glass canisters filled with his remains, his body having been subjected to numerous scientific experiments. Kanda confronts and unsuccessfully tries to defeat Tetsuo with an experimental laser rifle, while the Colonel uses an orbital laser that severs Tetsuo's right arm. Tetsuo pulls the orbital weapon into the atmosphere and synthesizes an artificial arm from the remains while studying Akira's organs. When Kaori arrives, Tetsuo's psychokinetic powers have begun to cause him immense pain. The Colonel explains that the Esper's migraine-controlling drugs administered to Tetsuo are to stunt the evolution of uncontrollable ability. Despite the Colonel's pleas for Tetsuo to return to the hospital, Tetsuo nearly kills the Colonel, but Kanda confronts him. Unable to control his powers, Tetsuo's body begins to mutate into a giant mass, engulfing Kanda and crushing Kaori to death. The Espers awaken Akira, who had merely grown beyond the requirement of a coherent biological form. Manifesting himself from the canisters, Akira reunites with his friends. Akira uses his psychic powers to create a blinding ball of light that engulfs the city, which he uses to contain Tetsuo. As Akira confronts Tetsuo, Kyoko grabs the Colonel and hurries to teleport him to safety over Masaru and Kyoko's objections. Tetsuo cries out for Kanda's help. Desperate to save his friend, Kanda follows Tetsuo into the energy sphere. Takashi jumps into the light to rescue Kanda. The other Espers join Takashi, deciding that it will take all 3 of them to save Kanda, aware they likely will not be able to return. Kanda experiences Tetsuo's and the Esper's childhood memory, including how much Tetsuo trusted Kanda as a friend and how the children were first studied before Tokyo's destruction. The Espers tell Tetsuo that Akira is sending him away, but somewhere safe, as the Espers remove Kanda from the destruction and tell him that Akira will be taking Tetsuo to safety. Kyoko implies that Kei is beginning to develop her psychic powers, and this is confirmed when Kei calls Kanda out telepathically. Akira's psychic power destroys most of Neo-Tokyo and leaves a void that is quickly filled by the ocean. Dr. Onishi is killed when his research laboratory is crushed. Kanda awakens to discover that Kei and Kai have survived, and they drive away into the city after absorbing Tetsuo's power orb. Colonel Shikishima emerges from the tunnel where he was placed by Kyoko and watches as the sun rises over the destroyed city. Elsewhere, a cosmic bang breaches the darkness, and Tetsuo comes into full control of his powers as Akira transports his spirit. A voice speaks out, "I am Tetsuo." Coming into full control of his powers, he initiates a new universe. And that's all for today, guys. Stay tuned to get our next videos. Stay safe and keep watching.